Hello watchers, welcome back to the channel, and yes, today I am going to review this Seiko. And now this particular watch I unboxed a little while back, so you've already seen some of this, but this is going to be the full review. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this comes in a slipcase, right, a little bit of barcode, and then interestingly it does actually tell you what the box is made of, as well as the fact that the box is made in China. Let's just get that slipcase off and away to the side. So that's the box itself, right? This is of course a step up beyond the usual Seiko, but still it is just cardboard, polyurethane. You've seen it, you know, nothing much more, which is something that Seiko fans often rue, you know, why the boxes aren't better. But you know, you're not paying for the box, really, you're paying for the watch. So let's just get the watch aside. You know, you can see this dia shield and Prospex in the spare links at the bottom there that I've already adjusted. And just a quick note that this watch comes with a bonus or optional rubber diving strap. I'm not a big fan of this, so I haven't even opened it and tried it on. Let me know if you've in fact tried it on the watch and your experiences about this particular rubber strap, which is a bit different from some of the others I've seen, the SKX in particular. This one seems to be a little bit more premium. All right, so that's just gonna put that aside and show you the watch itself. So guys, this is of course the Seiko Prospex Divers 200 meter Shogun is the nickname, SBDC029. This watch is very well known. It seems like there is a lot of talk, a lot of fans of this particular model, for good reason that we'll go into. So the MSRP here is 1200 USD as far as I can identify, but typically it will go for around the 900 USD. Let me know if you can obtain it for slightly less than that, which no doubt on certain sales you might be able to find a cheaper price. So the movement, the first time I featured this movement on the channel, as far as I can recall, is a 6R15. So a step up from the NH35 or the 4R35, if you will, Seiko movement. So this one is 21,600 beats per hour still. It does have 23 joules, but the power reserve is higher. It is a 50-hour reserve, and that is thanks to the Spron 510 mainspring. Now Spron is, as I understand it, a special or proprietary spring alloy developed for Seiko and by Seiko. It's not the top alloy. I think the 610 would be their top alloy, but it is a higher grade alloy, hence the higher power reserve rating of this watch. So this movement has a quick set date. It does have hacking and it does have manual winding, as you might expect in a movement like this. It is rated at -15 to plus 25 seconds per day, but in use this particular watch has proven to be very, very well regulated. It's running about 2 or 3 seconds fast per day, which is excellent. You know, something I'm very happy and satisfied with. I don't need to touch it in terms of regulation. This case here, right, have a look at the case, right? It is that beautiful titanium, right? 43 millimeters across, as far as I can measure as accurately as I can. Some sources say 43, Seiko say 43 point something, other sources say 44. I think it's actually 43 or closer to that. The bezel itself is definitely 42 across. The case is slightly more than that. Thickness is 13.5 millimeters. The lugs are 22 millimeter, and please note also that they are drilled lugs, which is something that will please a lot of people. The lug to lug is 50 millimeters or 50.5, just a smidgen over 50 millimeters. So kind of sizable. The weight, because this is titanium, is a very, very light 105 grams adjusted weight. You know, I've removed some links and it is only 105 on the wrist now, which is very light. And, you know, sometimes I even forget that it's there. Finishing wise, you can see, right, on the lugs as well as the side, you have this longitudinal brush on the dia shield, but there is a beveled side here. So if you see there, as well as that side, there's a bevel that is actually polished on the side of the case. As well, if you note the case back, if you look at, you know, the lugs on the back there, as well as around the case back, it is actually polished on the back as well, which is an interesting choice they have gone with. The case back, as you can see, you know, check it out. Right, you got some specs there, Seiko Divers 200, 6R15 movement and whatnot, and that Tsunami logo, right? The Seiko Divers Tsunami logo. So screw-in case back, of course, for this dive watch. Screw-in crown, and just to note, the crown does have a nice little S sign there. Right, so that's a Divers 200 watch, and that means it is actually an ISO 6425, as with so many, or just about all of Seiko proper dive watches. They're ISO tested and certified. The dial, okay, let's just get into the dial here. It is a nice, very high contrast matte black with steel applied markers. Actually, I'm not sure whether it's steel or titanium. Let me know if you know, in fact, what they are, but they could be either as far as I'm concerned. And they're filled with Seiko LumiBright with the arrow and sword style hands matching the, I guess, this feudal theme here that is coming out in this watch. So the obelisk of the sword kind of matches the 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock marker, which is something that people talk a lot about, and which is why a lot of people love this handset and this kind of a marker set that comes with this watch, and not so much with a lot of other watches that you might see from Seiko. Okay, so and of course with the LumiBright, that works excellently. I'll put a loon shot out right here for you to see just how well it works, and it works just as well as LumiBright you would expect. Okay, on top of it, there is a 120 click unidirectional bezel, dive style bezel. The insert is metal. I'm sure it's a metal of some sort. I just don't know whether it's aluminium or steel or something else. Let me know if you have further information on that. I suspect it's probably aluminium. The bezel is not very loud, and it's a bit easy to turn, actually. I have to say, you could easily, I think almost accidentally turn that on the contact. So that's a little bit of a weakness, I suppose, if you want to pick at this particular watch. There is a pip, LumiBright pip at the 12 o'clock position, which you would have seen in the loom shot. Above the dial is a pleasingly domed mineral glass, Seiko Hardlex, proprietary Hardlex, which is really a type of mineral glass. Moving on to the bracelet. Right, check it out. That dia shield, which is a proprietary hardening coating for the titanium finish, it does leave a bit of a mesmerizing finish. That's something that I've stared at times, just looking at the way that the light plays off that. So brushed longitudinally, it does have polished on the sides. And of course, it's pin adjustment, right? Push pin and collar adjustment. Some people really hate the collars, but this is what you're getting with this particular watch, and just about all Seiko watches, as I've spoken about in my other video where I talked about my gripes. Okay, the end links are solid. You can see the solid end links there with the windows for the, where you can actually see the spring bars. But technically, you actually don't need windows for this because you've got the drill lugs. But I guess this bracelet might be used in other watches, or at least this bracelet design. All right, moving on to the clasp. Again, another Seiko weakness. It's just pressed metal, right? If you look at that, all pressed metal, especially this part, it's titanium. And then nice gray there coming out, but it is just pressed metal, and it does have a dive extension, but that's a little bit kind of rudimentary. Let's just open it up for you to show you guys, right? So that's how it is, right? This particular dive extension, you kind of hook it on. So kind of hook it on there and push it back in. That's how that particular dive extension works. Some people say that it's a little bit short to be really functional, but let me know if you in fact use this for diving and wetsuits. I'd like to know your thoughts about the length of that particular dive insert. So that's really the watch. Now let's just try it on for the wrist shot for you guys. And there it is, the Seiko SBDC029 Shogun. Remember, 50mm lug-to-lug length on my 17cm wrist. It is on the large side, but the way that the lugs curve down, and because it's only 13mm stick, I think it's actually something that I get away with, even though it is pushing the limits with that 50mm lug-to-lug. It's something I don't think I have had a problem carrying. It sits very nicely on the wrist there. Okay, so let's just take that off. Why is this one of my kind of mini-grail watches? Well, it's a Seiko with all that it entails, over 100 years, the most prominent name out of Japan, one of the biggest names worldwide with everything that comes with a Seiko. It is the Shogun, right? The cool nickname given to it by fans because of the kind of the feudal design, I guess the themes that come through on this watch. I think the design is just very nicely balanced all around. I mean, look at that dial. The way the markers play, sit above the matte black, the handset, right? The arrow and sword, the bezel design, the way, they've printed the bezel with this kind of like sharper markings at the every 5 second mark. I guess not at the tens, right? The way that it's high contrast. Yes, it is just a steel insert or a metal insert. It's not ceramic, but that's what you're getting. And the case design, I think all this is preferable over, for example, the design of the Sumo, which is a watch that this is commonly compared to because they've got the same 6R15 movement. But I think design-wise, all the elements here are preferable to me over the Sumo design. And that's why really I've kind of wanted to get my hands on this watch. I think the finishing is just quality. The brushing on this die shield titanium is something, something to talk about, something to behold in hand. It probably doesn't translate fully on camera, but it really is really quite iridescent and mesmerizing when you look at it in certain lighting conditions. That I've really enjoyed that. And it's wonderfully light. It is titanium. Not everybody likes titanium, with its weaknesses. It is a very ultra strong metal for its weight. The strength to weight ratio, but it is ironically also relatively soft. You can scratch it easily, and certainly it scratches easier than steel. Now the die shield coating does protect that a bit, but apparently it probably doesn't make it as hard as steel. Let me know of your particular experiences with die shield titanium if you've had something to that effect, or in fact if you've had this watch. Has it quite blown away my collection? Some people say that once you get this, it will just take all your wrist time. Well, it hasn't really, but I'm a YouTuber and I create content. I really have to keep trying out watches. So, it hasn't in that sense. I still rotate through watches, but maybe if I'm not going through lots of reviews, probably would hog a lot of wrist time. It certainly has taken a lot of wrist time once I got this in hand. Right, weaknesses. Well, much as I love this watch, I'm going to be honest about the issues I found. Now, chapter ring alignment, I think the chapter ring's absolutely fine. Right, take a look at that. I don't see any issues with that. But the bezel, okay, I'm just going to go, okay, so that's nearly 12, but it's just a bit on the right. And then I click one more time. It's probably just a bit on the left. So there is a slight bezel alignment problem here. So I will be honest about that. And that's something that, of course, a lot of people complain about Seiko QC. The bezel and chapter ring alignment, there is an issue. All right, end links. Okay, can you see that? Hopefully you can see that moving. The end link fit, right, is not the best. There is a bit of daylight that can come through between the lug and end link here. And that's just a little bit unfortunate. They should have done, I think they definitely can do better than that. The end link fit is a weakness on this particular model, I think. And then it's got the Seiko weaknesses, which I won't harp around too long, but, mineral glass, bezel, which is, metal insert, and a bracelet, which, really, it leaves something to be desired, that bracelet clasp, as well as the pin and collar adjustment, which can be an absolute nightmare to change, especially if you're losing those collars. Some people have really complained about that. So, those are the Seiko weaknesses I've spoken about before. The value proposition, well, for 1,200 MSRP, 900 realistic, acquisition price, is it worth it? A Sumo with the same movement you can get for about 2/3 the price. Is it worth it? Paying a lot of it for the titanium finishing, the titanium material. And some people may feel that's a little bit steep, but it is what it is. That's what you're getting. That's what the asking price is. So you have to be prepared to fork that out for that difference. So guys, that's my view of this watch, a watch that I've wanted for a long time, that I finally acquired and now can enjoy. Let me know what you think of the Seiko Shogun. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. I put out new content weekly, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I will catch you next time.